Hey guys, what is up? I gotta check the audio here. Okay, good. So, I am now in the sixth part of the Sengoku Jidai series by Kings and Generals, and I really want to get to it because this series is amazing, and I'm having such a great time, looking into it. Last episode I think was my favorite. Just the plot twist and everything was, you know what I mean, amazing. So I'm having fun right now. And if you want to watch the original video by Kings and Generals without me here, the link is down in the description down below. And if you enjoy my channel and you want to help support me in any way, shape, or form, feel free to please like, comment, subscribe, and maybe even consider being like a Patreon YouTube member. It would really help me out a lot. With that said, and now without any further ado, let's just get to it. Let's watch more of this amazing series by Kings and Generals.
While Ieyasu was fighting for control of the former Takeda lands, the Oda clan had to deal with the succession crisis between Nobunaga's remaining sons. Nobunaga's generals were also daimyos and powerful men in their own right, and they too could seek a piece of the territory pie as well as leadership of the alliance. To settle these differences, one of Nobunaga's oldest and most trusted generals, Shibata Katsuie, called a conference at the castle of Kiyosu in Owari. Besides Nobunaga's sons, Nobukatsu and Nobutaka, and Katsuie himself, also present were Niue Nagahide, Ikeda Tsuneoki, and of course Hachiba Hideyoshi. Katsuie was quick to throw his support behind Nobutaka, who had been present at Yamazaki and avenged his father's death. For Hideyoshi to rise above Katsuie, he would have to support Nobukatsu's claim, but he was unlikely to win as his reputation was tarnished by military failures. This, compounded by his passiveness in the face of Akechi's revolt, led many retainers to openly question his ability to lead. Nobutaka's election as the next head of the Oda clan seemed inevitable when Hideyoshi had an epiphany, left the room, and later returned holding in his hands the late Nobutada's infant son, Samboshi. Samboshi was the ideal candidate. He was the son of Nobutada, Nobunaga's chosen heir, and his other grandfather was Takeda Shingen, thus combining two of Japan's biggest names. More importantly, he was 3 years old, and therefore not an immediate problem to the powerful Oda vassals. One by one, the Oda generals supported Hideyoshi's proposal.
I'm telling you, this guy is just so smart. Surprised he's the only one who remembered that. But apparently he just realized, oh snap, yes, and then obviously having a child in power definitely helps a lot of these more ambitious people. And wow, just genius move, dude. This guy's on a roll. Hideyoshi's kind of like, him and Ieyasu are kind of like my two favorite characters at the moment, you know, just masterful play.
The land between the four powerful vassals was also equally divided, with the exception of Nobunaga's personal fiefs that went to his sons. Hideyoshi was awarded Yamashiro, Kawachi, and Tamba, while Katsuie received Omi and Echizen. Kyoto, despite being in the province of Yamashiro, was decided to be jointly ruled by all four in equal measure, though Hideyoshi showed more interest in the city and practically exercised greater authority. Ieyasu had thus far tried to win to his side as many of the former Takeda vassals as possible, and his generals had been involved in some small skirmishes. Now, having received the green light from Hideyoshi at the Kiyosu conference, he marched with the goal of properly subjugating these provinces and adding them to his own domain. At the head of 8,000 men, Ieyasu himself marched straight into Kai, while another column, led by Sakai Tadetsugu and Ogasawara Nobumine, marched to Shinano. Tadetsugu's efforts were met with little success, as they faced stiff resistance from Suwa Yoritada, who held Takeshima Castle long enough for Ujinao to come to his rescue. Seeing the vastly larger Hojo force, which numbered more than 40,000 men, Tadetsugu's own 3,000 soldiers turned tail. They fled towards Shimpu Castle in Kai, which had already been occupied by Ieyasu's detachment. The pursuing Hojo forces were unable to destroy any fleeing Tokugawa warriors thanks to the excellent rearguard action of a samurai named Okabe Masatsuna, but nonetheless they also entered Kai and set up their camp at Wakimiko. So it was that in early September, the two sides faced off in numerous skirmishes around the areas of Shinpu and Nomi castles, where the Tokugawa men had set up their defensive lines and constructed additional defenses. Despite outnumbering their opponents more than 5 to 1, the Hojo were unable to dislodge the defenders. Hoping to break the stalemate, Ujinao sent Ujitada and Ujikatsu with 10,000 men to make their way around Kurakoma village and attack Ieyasu's position from the rear. However, they were met by Tori Mototada, who anticipated such a maneuver. While his regiment only numbered 2,000 men, Mototada was able to soundly defeat the larger Hojo force, killing about 300 of them. The defeat at Kurakoma and the overall stalemate at Shimpu became the turning point for Ieyasu's campaign, which had not fared that well up to that point. Their inability to beat their much smaller adversary shook the Hojo army's prestige, and one by one, many of their allies switched to the Tokugawa side, feeling it was the safer option to bet on.
Dang.
Amongst them was Kiso Yoshimasa, Yoda Nobushige, and most importantly, Sanada Masayuki, who seemed to switch allegiances faster than the speed of light. To be fair, he had...
Yeah, I do notice that this guy's kind of been turning, so... I don't know, sometimes that's... You kind of have to sometimes. Like, it's good to see when the wind is changing, right? But too much of that kind of would make you too untrustworthy, so gotta kind of be careful.
Bent the knee to the Hojo because they had parked an army outside his walls.
Furthermore,
his goal from the very start was to acquire Numata Castle, a natural stronghold that stood on the roads connecting 3 provinces. However, the Hojo also considered it theirs by right, and would never willingly relinquish it to him. So when Ieyasu approached him, he was more than happy to switch sides, and immediately went and recaptured Numata. The Hojo tried to reclaim the castle, but they were unable to do so. In the meantime, Yoda Nobushige had managed to reclaim Komoro Castle, and Uchiyama captured Usui Pass, before helping Masayuki block any supplies and reinforcements from making their way to Ujinao's army. The Tokugawa side was also victorious in southern Shinano, where Ogasawara Sadayoshi took Fakashi Castle with Kiso Yoshimasa, ousting Ogasawara Dosetsusai, who controlled it for the Uesugi. With the Tokugawa forces steadily claiming ground and courting clans from the northeast of the Kanto Plain, and with their supply lines cut off, the Hojo had no option but to seek a peace deal with Ieyasu. At the ensuing conference, Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Nobunaga's second son, Oda Nobukatsu, acted as the mediators between the two warring clans. On the 24th of November, the two sides signed a treaty that awarded Ieyasu with the provinces of Shinano and Kai, while the Hojo would keep Kosuke, with Numata Castle returned to them.
Yeah, like, look at how much he's grown his territory. Like I said, I don't really know anything about this conflict. I don't know how it's gonna end. I don't know who's gonna win, like how Japan's gonna look when it's all said and done. So like I kind of like am in speculating mode and wondering like in my head just like how is it all going to, you know, this conflict is gonna resolve. I'm wondering if one clan is going to unite Japan. I think he mentioned that in the first part. It's been a bit, but like I'm kind of wondering which clan is going, if that is true, which clan is going to be the one to kind of unite Japan, or at least the majority of it. And I'm wondering if there's ever going to be like a confrontation between Ieyasu and Hideyoshi, because like I said, like I'm kind of wondering right now. Ieyasu's kind of been playing nice, you know, with this clan, keeping them as an ally. Very smart on his part, but he's definitely growing as you're seeing, taking this to his advantage. I'm wondering if they're ever gonna look at him and be like, this, you know, kind of like as a threat, because he is very competent and very good at what he does. So, like, I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a point where they start seeing him as more of a rival and less of an ally. I don't know, I'm just speculating for fun. Like I said, I don't know anything, but... Well, let's keep going.
Moreover, both sides would promise not to meddle in each other's affairs. In addition, Ujinao would marry Ieyasu's second daughter, Tokuhime, thus establishing familial ties between the two clans. Thus, the conflict between the Hojo and the Tokugawa was brought to a satisfying end for the two sides. Ieyasu would continue fighting some minor independent lords who continued to resist him in Shinano, but he was otherwise in control of the provinces. However, there was a man who was not satisfied at all with the current peace treaty, and, upon reviewing the terms, it is not hard to guess who that man was. That's right, Sanada Masayuki, who was less than thrilled at having to give his hard-earned nomadic castle back to the Hojo. Choosing not to comply with the terms the Tokugawa and the Hojo had agreed upon, he instead began constructing a new stronghold, Ueda Castle, and prepared to go to war with them. It wouldn't be long before the rivalry between Katsuie and Hideyoshi would lead to open hostility. Oda Nobutaka quite understandably couldn't accept the fate that a baby had beaten him for the clan's leadership, and still sought to reclaim his stolen position.
Yeah, that is kind of funny, mainly because obviously this child, the benefit of having these names behind him, and also just because he's a child and in some ways kind of more easily controlled, I think is playing a part in it. But you know, you can see why those factors. But also, yeah, I'd be angry too if a 3-year-old took my position as leader. Like he can't even he could barely well, I mean, I don't know how educated he is, but point is, yeah, I could see him being a problem, because I'd also probably be super upset if that happened to me.
Shibata had supported him in the past, and their alliance was solidified through the marriage of Katsuie to his aunt Lady Uichi, the widow of Azai Nagamasa. Shibata Katsuie wasn't the only one who thought that Hideyoshi was planning to usurp the power of the Oda clan, and around him gathered many other generals who thought Nobutaka to be the rightful heir, like Takigawa Kazemasu and Maeda Toshie. The Oda-Shibata alliance would have been an incredibly hard obstacle for Hideyoshi to overcome had Nobutaka not given an unexpected gift to his enemy when he declared war in late 1582.
Oh.
The timing couldn't have been worse, as the winter snows had blocked the northern roads, trapping Katsuie and the bulk of his army in Echizen. A very grateful Hideyoshi marched quickly to Nobutaka's seat of power in Gifu and forced him to swear fealty. While returning to Kyoto, he was informed that Takigawa Kazemasu and Shibata Katsutoyo, Katsuie's son, had both raised their armies and were planning a two-pronged attack.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank goodness for that ill timing of the war. Hideyoshi, bro, this is kind of the guy you need to be prepared for, because as we've established, he's probably one of the best of the leaders already at this time. So immediately taking care of that, now all this dude's gonna just take on everybody all at once, and probably do so in spectacular fashion, I'd imagine.
Hideyoshi first moved against Katsutoyo in Nagahama, and after subduing the castle's defenders through bribery, moved against Kazemasu in Kameyama.
I love bribery. It's actually one of my tactics I seem to be utilizing in Total War nowadays, because you know, sometimes I'm at war with someone and I kind of want a peaceful resolution, so I just immediately start bribing them, hey, can we just especially if I'm really rich economically, I'll just give people money. And or one of my other favorite strategies, if I'm at war with multiple fronts, I'll just bribe someone else to join the war with me and attack. I was playing as Macedon, and I was at war with Egypt, which was a former ally of mine. And so there was this faction called Kush, and Kush was originally an enemy of Egypt, and when I was on Egypt's side, me and Egypt were battling Kush, even though I didn't actually step foot because I was in Greece, so I was just against them in paper. But then Kush offered to be my vassal. I was like, okay, I'll be your overlord, sure. And then now that I'm at war with Egypt, I just unleash Kush to attack them while I wage war at Anatolia against Pergamon. So I don't know, just the insane situations I keep fighting myself in Total War, it's actually some of my favorite, and I like kind of telling you guys about it, because I'm excited, and it kind of just reminds me of stuff like that. But yeah, bribery is a fun tactic to use, especially when you have money.
Which he captured after successfully using mines to blow up a section of the walls. As spring was approaching, the snow that thus far had kept Katsuie in Echizen would melt, and so Hideyoshi moved his forces to northern Omi once more, where he constructed a series of fortifications in anticipation of the arrival of his enemy. And so it happened, as Shibata Katsuie, at the head of his 20,000-strong army, marched south and stopped before Hashiba's defensive line. Everything had gone according to plan.
Arknight's Enfield is giving out 100.
Or so Hideyoshi thought. But as soon as his forces reached Kinomoto, he was informed that Oda Nobutaka had once again gathered his troops. Nobutaka's army posed a serious threat to Hideyoshi's rear, and if he wanted victory, he would have to move quickly. Leaving behind his half-brother, Hashiba Hidenaga, with 15,000 men, and Niue Nagahide at the head of another 2, he raced towards Gifu once more. But cleverly thinking that his presence might be needed, he set up his headquarters at Ogaki, leaving Nobunaga's other son, Nobukatsu, to command the siege. Meanwhile, noticing the absence of half of the Hashiba troops, Katsuie began besieging the castles. He sent a detachment led by Sakuma Morimasa around Lake Yogo to attack the fortresses from the southwestern approach, while a regiment under Maeda Toshie provided cover against a possible counterattack. He was thus able to capture the castles of Oiwa and Iwasaki, which were defended by Nakagawa Kiyohide and Takeyama Ukon respectively. Kiyohide was killed, but Ukon managed to escape. Only the castle of Shizugatake remained under Hashiba control, and Morimasa was determined to change that. Ignoring Hidetaka's army and orders from Katsuie to abandon the offensive operations and instead fortify the captured Oiwa castle, he pressed on. When Hideyoshi at Ogaki was informed that Morimasa was besieging Shizugatake, instead of seeking refuge inside Oiwa, he famously proclaimed, "Then I have won." The following day, he took his cavalry forces to quickly head back to Kinomoto.
This guy is nothing but aura, bro. Just everything he does is... I'm like... Oh man, if he pulls this off, bro, he is like the GOAT.
Infantry marching behind at a far slower pace. He stopped only to assume command of Hidenaga's troops, and to be briefed on the situation at hand. Then Hideyoshi blew on a conch shell. It was the signal his men were waiting for.
The magic conch. But, alright, this seems like it's gonna be a quick battle. But yeah, I was gonna say, usually I like to look at the army composition. Hideyoshi has cavalry, which is a big advantage to have.
And like hungry wolves, they fell on Sakuma's lines. As the sun was slowly rising behind the mountain peaks, the two forces clashed. Due to the mountainous nature of the terrain, battle lines soon dissolved, a frenzied melee and personal duels taking their place. Amidst this chaos, individual combat skills would determine the outcome of the battle, and Hideyoshi's elite horse guards proved pivotal. 7 of these men, most notably Kato Kiyomasa.
Okay, the 7 spears were of 7 vassals of Hideyoshi at the Battle of Shizugatake in 1583. At the decisive moment in the battle, Hideyoshi ordered them to leave the position and charge at the opposing army. The 7 spears. What's that game I'm thinking about? It's the FromSoft game. Oh yeah, that's what it was called, Sekiro. And the 7 spears of that game. Was it the 7... Shina spears? Okay, that kind of gave me... Actually, that's like the one FromSoft game I haven't played, but I look at a lot of walkthroughs for. So that's kind of like why I was remembering that.
And Fukushima Masanori exemplified themselves, earning the nickname the 7 Spears of Shizugatake. Meanwhile,
Awesome name.
Maeda Toshie, who was observing the events, realized Hideyoshi's army would emerge victorious, and decided to retreat to Fuchu Castle, later coming to terms with the victorious Hashiba. The force of the attackers, coupled with the abandonment by their allies, finally broke Sakuma's troops, who hurled down their weapons and armor and ran to the valley. Shibata Katsuie, despite seeing them routing, initially wanted to make a stand, but was persuaded by his advisors and ordered a general retreat towards the safety of Kitanosho Castle, with Hideyoshi pursuing him and laying siege to the fortress. Katsuie, coming to terms with the fact that it was all over, decided to go out as a samurai. It is said that he climbed to the 9th floor of the keep and announced to his men his decision to die by his own hand. He then ordered the keep to be set ablaze, and amidst the flames, Katsuie and his wife, Oichi, committed suicide. Following the fall of the castle, her daughters came under Hideyoshi's protection, who promptly sent them to Osaka, where he was building a new and imposing castle over the ruins of the old Ishiyama Honganji. In a weird twist of fate, the eldest of Oichi's daughters, Yododono, also known as Lady Chacha, became his wife and mother to his heir Hideyori.
Oh,
While
wow.
the youngest would marry Tokugawa Hidetada, the second shogun.
Dang.
Katsuie's death pretty much signaled the end of the war. Maeda Toshie had already shown his unwillingness to confront Hideyoshi head-on, and now officially submitted to him, while Takegawa Kazemasu bent the knee a few months later. But what about Oda Nobutaka? Besieged at Gifu by his brother, he was ultimately forced to surrender once more, but this time, Hideyoshi's capacity for forgiveness had reached its limits. Neither would Nobukatsu show any mercy to a brother whom he considered to be an obstacle on his path to ascension. Confined at a monastery in Owari, he was pressured into committing seppuku 2 months later,
Oh my
leaving
gosh.
behind a rather bitter death poem wishing for the gods to punish Hideyoshi.
You had killed the one you had served. May the gods strike you down. Wow. Really writing a diss track before he went out, huh?
However, Nobutaka's death did not bring an end to the infighting of the Oda camp. Nobukatsu was now rid of his rival sibling, and all that remained between him and the kingdom his father had carved was
Hideyoshi.
3-year-old Samboshi,
Oh, never mind.
backed by the Hashiba clan. Therefore, Nobukatsu would need an equally strong ally to oppose Hideyoshi. His search did not take long, as he
Ooh.
found that partner in the face of Tokugawa Ieyasu.
Ooh, yes. Ooh, this is getting juicy. This I like. I like where this is going. Okay. Oh, man. Yes, just get him involved. I want to see what insanity happens, bro.
Ieyasu had perceptively remained on the sideline during the Hashiba-Shibata conflict, instead focusing on securing the former possessions of the Takeda clan in Kai and Shinano provinces. His military might and ambition matched Hideyoshi's, and with Nobukatsu on his side, he now had a pretext to advance against him.
Dude, I can't wait to see that. I hope him and Hideyoshi kind of have a conflict, because I just want to see, like, it would be a real clash of the titans. Who would come out on top? Okay, I'm gonna end the episode right here, but I'm hyped now. This is peak, and I'll see you guys tomorrow when we get to the next part. Bye, everyone.